Hi everyone, this is Balazs from RacingBrick. Today we are finally taking a look at one of the most promising sets from the summer Technic wave, the Mercedes-Benz Unimog U 5023 with crane. When LEGO first revealed this lineup, this was the set that immediately caught my attention. Not because it's another licensed vehicle, but because despite the Mercedes badge, it actually feels like a proper Technic set. Pneumatics, suspension, a functional crane, 4-wheel drive, this is exactly the kind of feature-packed utility vehicle many Technic fans have been asking for. It's also not an 18+ set, which is great to see. The front of the box doesn't really showcase its capabilities, but the back gives us a much better idea of what's hidden inside, so let's open it up. The set comes with 1189 pieces, costs €120 or $130 and it's already available. Inside the box we get 9 numbered bags, 1 unnumbered bag, the sticker sheet, 4 tires and the manual. As always, I suggest checking the inventory on Rebrickable, but now let's start building. We begin with the central differential, and there's also a worm gear mechanism added straight away. I think this is a new way of indicating the correct orientation of the cam pieces in the instructions, looks useful. Here's our inline 6-cylinder engine, now connected to the drivetrain and geared up for some very fast piston movement. This mechanism will later operate the tipping bed. Next comes the rear axle. Connecting that universal joint inside the ball joint assembly isn't exactly trivial, but once everything is in place, you can already see how the suspension will work. The front axle is quite unconventional, and it also introduces a brand new part, a 4.5 module axle with stop. Until now we only had the 5.5 module version. The finished assembly is incredibly dense, full of half-stud offsets and compact connections, although this complexity does come at the expense of steering angle. So this axle is also in place now. Seats are added, together with the shaft for the hand-of-God steering. We get a fixed steering wheel, custom wheel arches at the front and brick-built ones at the rear. The license plate is the first sticker applied. LT could simply stand for LEGO Technic, although it might also be the designer's initials. Line fans will be pleased with the cabin. The parts seem carefully selected to have a consistent color matching. With the next bag, the front end is completed and the wheels are on as well. Before moving on to the crane, let's pause for a moment. This feels like something we haven't seen in Technic for quite a while, a modular utility vehicle with a versatile platform that invites customization. You have a capable 4x4 chassis, and the rear section is just waiting for different attachments and community modifications. So this next assembly feels like a pretty dense 3D puzzle. The pump is added, and now it's time to open the extra bag. It contains all the pneumatic hoses, including some surprisingly short ones, so make sure you don't accidentally throw them away with the packaging. Pneumatic sets can sometimes be frustrating to assemble, but this one has been very manageable so far. Here's the base of the crane. Interestingly, the outriggers are integrated into the crane assembly itself instead of being attached directly to the chassis, but it makes sense once you see how everything comes together. If you've built the legendary Aurochs, you will appreciate how reasonable the hose routing is here. There are some connections passing through the turntable, but it's nowhere near as intimidating. You still need to pay attention during certain steps, but overall it's very straightforward. Once all the hoses are connected, it's finally time to test the system. Fun fact, the piece used to secure the hook has never appeared in a Technic set before. The crane module is complete, so let's mount it on the truck. The final bag contains the tipping bed and the cargo, and with that we are done. So here is the finished build and it is super compact. The wheelbase is actually shorter than the 2022 ATV, which had a somewhat similar dense complexity back then, and only slightly larger than the recent Ford Bronco. Yet, despite its modest size, this thing is packed with functionality and I really respect that. But before the functions, let's talk about the looks. I'm pretty fine with the lime color scheme, it works well here. The Mercedes badge feels a bit oversized, although fun fact, it's actually the exact same piece used on the much larger G500. I also really like the grille construction. The Unimog has never been a vehicle designed purely for style. It's all about utility, and despite the compromises required at this scale, it's instantly recognizable. Now let's talk about the functions because they absolutely deserve the spotlight. We have a proper 4x4 drivetrain with 3 differentials, 1 central, 1 front and 1 rear. The suspension works, at least mechanically. In practice it's a little difficult to appreciate while playing with the model. Maybe replacing the hard shock absorbers with softer ones would help, although that would probably make the whole thing rather bouncy. The wheels drive the inline-6 engine through the geared-up drivetrain. The piston movement looks great, but it also introduces noticeable resistance, making off-road play slightly more challenging. Hand-of-God steering is operated through an easily accessible knob. Unfortunately, the turning radius is almost comical. You will either need a very large room, or you will spend quite a bit of time performing 3-point turns. The compact front axle clearly prioritizes strength and packaging efficiency over steering angle. Still, I think it offers great modding potential. The doors open, we get a simple interior with a fixed steering wheel, and that's pretty much it for the truck itself. The first additional function is the tipping bed, operated by this knob on the side. The mechanism uses an 8-tooth gear and a worm gear combination. In theory, it should hold its position, and with the supplied cargo, it works perfectly fine. I just wouldn't recommend loading it with anything too heavy, as the gears may eventually skip. For normal play though, I don't think this will be an issue. And finally, we arrive at the highlight of the set, the pneumatic crane. The bare chassis flexed quite a bit during the build, and the finished model doesn't completely eliminate that behavior. That's exactly why the outriggers are so important. Once deployed, they make a huge difference. You can operate the pump without feeling like the entire truck is about to fold in half. The large turntable and reduction gearing provide precise control when rotating the crane. It takes a while to move from one side to the other, but that same gearing gives you accuracy. The pneumatic movements themselves are much quicker, although naturally less precise. You can definitely load the cargo into the bed, but it will take a little practice. So, this is what we get for 120 euros or 130 US dollars. And compared to other Technic sets in this price range, I genuinely think it offers a lot. Mechanical functions, pneumatics, a strong part selection, excellent play value and huge modding potential. That's a very rare combination in today's Technic lineup, but it's not flawless of course. The steering angle is limited, the crane introduces some stability concerns, and the chassis isn't the stiffest we've seen. But this time I think the positives really outweigh the negatives. People have wanted a successor to the classic Technic Unimog for years, mostly thinking about size. And while this certainly isn't a direct replacement, I think it captures the same spirit remarkably well. More importantly, it does so in a compact and relatively affordable package. Just like its predecessor, I really hope this model inspires people to modify it, expand it, and create new attachments. In fact, the first alternate build has already appeared on Rebricable, which is incredibly impressive considering how new this set is. I would definitely recommend revisiting that page regularly to see what the community comes up with. So if you are looking for a classic Technic experience this year, this is absolutely the set I would recommend. But now it's your turn. Let me know what you think about the build, the functions, how would you upgrade it? Let's talk about it in the comment section. If you enjoyed this video, then please give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe with notifications as more exciting LEGO videos are coming soon. See you next time, bye bye.